Hi, and welcome back to the Ziggy Zone. There's been a lot going on in the world of sports. The NFL draft, the Mayweather Pacquiao fight, and the NBA playoffs are still in full effect. Or however, we're only going to talk about one of the three because there's not enough time to talk about all three. I want to respect your time. And so, yeah, we're going to tackle the first things first. The Mayweather Pacquiao fight. Yeah. Great business deal. It was an excellent business decision for both Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. When it comes to fighting, it's a bit of a snoozer. Now, we all have seen, schoolyard fights, school bus or city bus fights. I mean, we've seen fights before. And I think my issue with it is it's already barbaric enough. Like, I'm always so conflicted about the sport of boxing because I'm like, do we really want to see two men, beat each other up for money? It's a bit weird. Nevertheless, it's a spectator sport. I'm a spectator of all professional sports. I watched it. And I've literally only seen one other boxing match prior to the Mayweather Pacquiao, and that was when Mayweather fought someone this time 2 years ago. So I don't know who he fought. I mean, he obviously won, but I don't know who he fought. It was boring then. And so it's like, oh, maybe it was that fight. So then I watched this fight. I'm like, yes, the Mayweather Pacquiao fight is going to be like boom, 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 boom. Like, it's going to be a fight. And it wasn't that. I actually joked and said, I've literally seen better fights than that. I get that it's a strategy to it. You just don't fight. I guess sparring is the word. I just wanted them to, there was no blood, absolutely no blood. I'm like, okay. But I remember in high school, it was this fight outside the front. And I swear, the girl, who got beat up, she got pushed into the bushes and got beat up in the bushes. And let me tell you, those bushes literally 16 years later, those bushes have never grown back. And everyone remembers that fight. Everyone remembers that fight. And I'm like, that's a classic. This Mayweather Pacquiao stuff, it's not. It was a hype monster. It was all hype, no wow. But like I said, when you're talking about boxing, it was a snoozer. Literally, I was Facebooking, I was tweeting the whole time. I'm just like, what's happening? I don't really know much about boxing, so I actually thought Pacquiao was going to win. Pacquiao was swinging more, but he was not connecting. So that was very clear. But I felt like he had Floyd hemmed up a few times. So I was like, oh, they said Mayweather connected more of his hits. And I was like, really? I didn't see that. But then again, I was also on my phone for half the fight. So I probably missed a lot of his hits. So overall, as a fight, I think we all agree that it was just underwhelming because I think we expected, not necessarily people did expect knockouts. I would have liked to have seen a knockout, but I would have appreciated more combat, and that's what we didn't get. But then again, it doesn't matter how you win, it's as long as you win. And Mayweather was a strategist. You could see that he kept checking his length and everything. You could see that. And I just thought at one point, Manny would take off, and he didn't really do that too much. And then, so yeah, it was, as far as boxing, I just wasn't too impressed, underwhelmed, really. Nevertheless, as a business strategy, and that's really what I'm talking about, the business aspect of it. Mayweather, for the fight yesterday, made $100 million. So now I understand why they call him the money team. Because he negotiated to fight for 36 minutes, $100 million. That is completely genius. And so I watched the post-fight press conference, or I watched the press conference, I guess. And he said, I sort of started to look at Floyd differently. At the beginning of the week, I was like, he used to be this boisterous, just in your face guy. And I was like, and to me, I mean, that was off-putting. I'm just like, it's not that serious. But then again, I wasn't too versed in who Floyd Mayweather was. But like I said, the press coming into the week, I was like, oh, he's a bit different. He's a lot more humble. Like, what's really, he came across as a real person, instead of a character, which I felt like he was before, like, just a character. Not saying that he wasn't being authentic. It's just that he was his persona. So, but he seemed like he came across as a real person this week. And so in his press conference, he said, obviously he said before going into it, he told whomever, I forgot who he was speaking to, that the next thing he wanted to do, his next fight, he wanted to take a 9-figure check. And I'm thinking, wow, like someone who has that much insight as far as their worth and what they want. So he literally got a $100 million check, like literally, and was showing it off. I'm like, is it like just the what do they call that? Like the statement? Like, what do they call that? I'm like, did he get it like direct deposit? Because I'm just not carrying I'm sorry. I'm not carrying a $100 million check, but whatever. I don't know whose bank is going to go to. FDIC only insures you to $100,000, but those rich people problems I don't have. But what was interesting is that he said that even before the fight, even before he got into the ring, for the fight, Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather, he had already received $25 million. Like, that had nothing to do with the $100 million he was making. That has nothing to do with all the back end stuff. So you talk about back end money, you talk about the fight money, and then you talk about that pre-money. I need to talk to him because I sort of need to figure out what is he doing business-wise, because I need to sort of figure out how I can make like $5 million, like seriously, off of an hour of my time. But, and this is the thing I didn't know, and this is sort of really what made me take to him business-wise, was that he said, he has houses, he has cars, he has a plane, he has all these things paid for. Nothing on credit. Like most people who had humble beginnings typically still live outside their means, and they have these things. And I mean, we've seen 30 for 30 going broke, let's face it. He's not one. This man said that he will get a $7 million check every month for the rest of his life. Bitch, what? For real? Like, I don't know. Like, it's something to admire about a man who has literally worked hard, literally fought, made his money the honest way. And he's taken care of. His kids are taken care of. His kids' are taken care of. Perhaps his kids' are taken care of if they all, do right by the money, of course. And so I really appreciate Mayweather more as a businessman. And just as a black man, I think more than what I did prior to the fight. I mean, there's some domestic issues there, and he's done what he needed to do there, and I'm not going to really focus on that. But I mean, as a businessman, and as a man, that's what's up. Like, he needs to teach a class. But one thing, and this is more so for Mayweather, was I can tell in his press coverage this week that two things. One, I mean, he's a fighter. He's a fighter, and if he's talking, he's just shooting a breeze. So his public speaking skills are like not the best, but most people, that's like their number one thing that they're afraid of is speaking in public, like who really actually wants to address the audience. And two, that he actually does not trust his words. And I know that like a few months ago, or maybe even a year ago, people were making fun of him saying, oh, he can't read, blah, 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 blah. And I dismissed it. I was like, whatever, I don't even care. Like, I don't care if he can read or not. You can read them checks, obviously. But everybody who's talking about he can't read, let's see your bank account. But anyway, that's none of my business. But I can see, I'm like, no, he's smart. Surely we've all stumbled across words before, but I didn't feel bad for him, but I wanted him to own his press conference, and I felt like he was second guessing himself, and not really confident in the words he was choosing. I think that perhaps somewhere back in his mind, he was maybe thinking about when the whole world was erupted with Mayweather can't read, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, Manny Pacquiao, he made his money too. Everybody made a couple million. A couple more million than all of us. A couple more millions than me, definitely. But I just want to say, congratulations, whatever the background story is, to how the fight happened and the outcome. Both guys worked hard. They did what they were supposed to do, which is at the end of the day, the boxing is their job, and they made money. And so congratulations to those guys. Congratulations to Mayweather. He has one more fight left, and in September, and I think he said he's going to retire, and so I'm actually going to see that one, not because I expect it to be a good fight, like a really, but to really see him, because I think I'm a fan now. I think I can, I don't want to use the word fan. I just think I can appreciate his business acumen, and so, obviously I'm not having a fight party. I'm not paying for the fight because he ain't getting $150 of my money. I work hard for my money, and unless he coming in and coming up off of some of his earnings, I'm not paying for no fight. But I do want to see what his last, fight will be, and I think it's interesting to see, will he end his career being undefeated? So yeah, that was the fight. It was a snooze fest if you wanted to see a fight, but if you can appreciate someone with business savvy, it was something good to watch. So until next time, I'll see y'all later.